Bismillahirrahmanirrahim wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So we was talking about Amr ibn Luhay, how he became the leader of the Quraysh, and he was the first one to deviate or leave the path of the people, how they used to worship Allah Ta'ala the same way, based on the method in the path of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So he deviated from that. So the author is now segueing into talking about the event of what they call the event dealing with the field, right? So uh, the event dealing with the elephant took place. So remember, they left the path of Prophet Ibrahim and Ismail, how they only used to worship the one, the one true God, right? And they started embracing it based off of the leadership of Abba ibn what is his name? Amr ibn Luhay. So the event dealing with the elephant, which is leading up to this, some of this when you look up the tafsir of Surah Field, right? Surah 105, this is the background, some of the background you'll get that some of the scholars of Islam will begin to narrate. So during this period was a significant event that took place, uh, and it happened, and another happening even greater of importance. And it meant that Allah Ta'ala desired a better future for the Arabs, and that the Kaaba would take an important role like never before obtained by any other place of worship in the world. So they had this king from Abyssinia. It was Negus. His name was Abraha Ashram, and he ruled over Yemen. And he built his own little cathedral in Yemen, and he called it the Qulais, right? So what he was doing was he was competing with the Kaaba, because remember we talked about Nabi Ibrahim and his son Ismail, who was also a prophet, alayhi salam, where they built the Kaaba. They constructed the Kaaba in Mecca, right? And um, so Abraha, he wanted to build something similar, because remember the Quraysh pretty much had control over the Kaaba. They protected the Kaaba. They were the maintainers of the Kaaba. They were known for giving the people who came there to visit the Kaaba, feeding them, giving them drinks, hospitality. They were known for that. So anyway, so Abraham wanted to make his own, mock style or his own replica of a Kaaba, but it wasn't the Kaaba in the same way. It was actually like a church, and he intended to divert, Arabs from going to Mecca and stop in Yemen at Sana'a. So he was a Christian, and he was jealous that the Kaaba, being the place in what it held in the hearts of the people, and he wanted that same position for the church. So the Arabs, were kind of like stunned by the news, and they couldn't equate any other place with love and respect the same way that they had for the Kaaba. And so they were occupied with the news and discussed it a lot, right? Like today, like every time you turn on the TV, you open your door, it's flooded with vote for Kamala Harris or vote for Trump. It was like this on steroids, right? And so they said an Arab daredevil from the tribe of Kenana went so as far as to enter the cathedral, went to the church, and he took a smash in that joint, right? So Abraham felt, disrespected. He was offended, and he got furious. When he heard about it, he swore that he would not rest until he destroyed the Kaaba. So think about it. You already got a man that's jealous of the Kaaba. He constructed his own place, of worship. You come in there, when you get crazy behind Arab fellow Arabsmen, like yo, I'm gonna show you. You know what? I'm about to go up here. I'm gonna go take a dump on this joint. Literally, I'm gonna take a dump right in this joint, and that's what he did. He went in there and was disrespectful. Abraha got wind of that, and he said, "What he say? I ain't gonna get that guy who defecated in the church. But no, I'm gonna just go tear down the whole Kaaba. It took one person for him to just load up an army to go to Mecca to try to destroy it, right? So then he left out for Mecca with a strong force that included elephants in it. And elephants were equivalent to like tanks. You know what I'm saying? You got tanks today, you know them tanks, some of them tanks are like built such a way you can run that joint into a building and knock the building down to rubble. So he said the Arabs heard about this news, stories about this frightening news about the elephants coming, and they were in distress and alarm. Although they wanted to obstruct the progress of Abraha's army, they realized that they didn't have the power to fight him. Right? So they like, look, we ain't even got the same, we ain't got the weaponry. We got heart. We ain't scared to fight, but we just don't got the weaponry or anything. We might get devoured. So they could only leave the matter over to Allah Ta'ala and trust the fact that He was the Lord of the Kaaba and He would protect it. And this trust is amply demonstrated by a conversation between Abraha and the leader of the Quraysh at the time, right? Because remember, Amr ibn Luhay, he used to be the leader, but the Abdul Muttalib, who was the grandfather of the Prophet ﷺ, became the leader. Now check out Abdul Muttalib, right? I can see this going on in today's time. You hear that this army coming through, they're gonna destroy the masjid, right? And we got like 20 Lamborghinis parked outside the masjid that belong to me, right? And you hear the news, like, yo, they coming to tear down the masjid. I like, hold on, let me get my Lamborghinis up out of this joint, right? So so Abdul Muttalib had came, Abraha came and he took 200 camels of Abdul Muttalib. So now I'm upset. Like, yo, you just took all my Lamborghinis, man. That's what he did to Abdul Muttalib. He took 200 camels, right? So Abdul Muttalib sought permission to see Abraha. Abraha treated him with respect. He didn't disrespect him. He treated him with respect. And he came off his throne and he sat down beside him and talked to him. So Abraha asked him, yo, what is it that you want, Abdul Muttalib? You know what Abdul Muttalib said? I want my 200 camels back. I ain't worried about you destroying the Kaaba. I want my 200 camels. Right? And Abraham was like, what? I just took, I'm coming here to destroy your place of worship. And you come to talk to me about these 200 camels you got? He was like, yo, so he said, do you wish to speak to me about your 200 camels that I've taken, but say nothing about the house on which your religion is based on and your forefathers depend? He said, I have all intention to destroy it, and you don't even talk to me about that. Abdul Muttalib said, I'm the owner of those camels. As far as that house has an owner, and he will defend that. He will defend that house, and it will not be defended against me. Abraha said, right. So that remains to be seen. Said Abdul Muttalib, like, yeah, all right, we'll see. Right, I'm gonna destroy your house now. Yeah, all right, we'll see. Right. So Abraha he brought in his armies even closer. The Quraysh then was like, they went high up in the mountains because there's mountains surrounding Mecca. They went high up in the mountains and they feared the armies that were approaching. Yeah. And when they waited to see how Allah Ta'ala would save that sanctuary. Abdul Muttalib stood with a group of the Quraysh and they took hold of the doors of the Kaaba and they asked Allah Ta'ala to help them against Abraha and his army. Abraha drew his soldiers to enter into Mecca, fully intending to destroy the Kaaba. His elephant, whose name was Mahmud, right? Mahmud, if you know anything about Sarf, right? It comes from the trilateral root of Hamida, right? Muhammad is from the word Hamida. And you got the word Mahmud also comes from Hamida. Ahmed comes from Hamida. Hamid comes from Hamida. Hamid comes from Hamida. Just right there, all those different words, and they all mean something different, each one of them. So anyway, so the elephant name is Mahmud. How you gonna send in Mahmud to destroy the Kaaba, right? Okay. So he said he prepared for attack. However, when the elephant kneeled down on the road, he refused to get up, despite them beating on him, right? And when they turned it to face towards Yemen, the elephant got up and walked off. And so then Allah then sent in. Now these were the first what is it, F-19 bombers and all that. Allah sent in the first F-19 bombers, right? Allah sent a flock of birds from the sea, and each bird had stones that they dropped, from the top of the sky. And whenever a stone struck someone, it killed them. Now, I don't know if y'all know anything about it, but the higher you up and you drop an object, when it hits whatever it's going to hit, it's going to kill it, right? Maybe not dropping it from the top of the, from the porch right there, but you go to the top of this building, and let's say drop a ball, just drop it dead weight. Whatever it's hit, it's going to leave. It probably make you have a concussion. If you go a little higher up, it might, depending on the size of the object and the force impacted behind it, it can kill you, right? So these birds started dropping the stones, and whenever the stone hit one of the soldiers, it killed them, right? And so anyway, the Abyssinians, they fled, in fear, rushing back as the stones were hitting them. Abraha was badly hurt, and when his soldiers tried to take him, with them, his limbs fell off one by one. Subhanallah. And they took him to Sana'a, where he died a miserable death. And then he mentions about the surah, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil, right? So a fil all the way to the end, where Allah Ta'ala says, have you not seen what your Lord did with the people of the elephant? Right? So this surah, it teaches us a few things with this surah in this particular story. Number one, it teaches us to rely, which is connected to earlier. We talked about the hadith in the khutbah. When you need help, you only seek it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If humanity got together in order to harm you, they couldn't harm you except by the permission of Allah Ta'ala. And if they were going to help you, they couldn't even help you except by the permission of Allah Ta'ala. So you literally seen this, Allah Ta'ala demonstrated this event for us before the arrival of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, before the arrival of the Quran. He demonstrated this. And remember, Abdul Muttalib, he didn't call on Lat and Uzza, right? He said that the Kaaba has its own owner. Who's the owner of the Kaaba? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Allah Ta'ala didn't become the owner of the Kaaba as the Quran was revealed, because Prophet Ibrahim and Nabi Ismail built it, and they were prophets, right? So therefore, this is already an indication that the Kaaba was protected by Allah Ta'ala, as Abdul Muttalib said, the grandfather of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. So anyway, you learn that, and then you also see that Allah Ta'ala used others in creation to punish people, right? And he didn't even use human beings, he used animals. Right? Because when we think of war, we only think about people crushing other people or destroying other people. We'll use birds with stones, with natural resources. No titanium, no lithium, no chlorine bombs or none of that. It was just stones, right? And you've been seeing this happening for years. Like when you hear some of the stories where Russia, when Afghanistan was breaking away from Russia in the 80s, they said that the people were using pitchforks, rakes. They didn't have a whole bunch of AK-47s running around, right? They had rocks. They said that, I read this one story. It was I don't know what branch in the military he was serving, but he was flying in one of the choppers, right? And they were going to come to bomb this one village, and nobody could get to this village because it was at the top of a mountain. And so they were trying to fly in. This is the Kufar who said this. He said that every time that they thought they could lock in to hit the button to shoot the missile, right? Something happened and it just throw them all off, and they had to go like this. And some of them did have RPGs, right? And he said dudes was shooting. He said he swore he seen an RPG hit, knock the daggone chopper out the sky. He said, but on his way down, what he seen was amazing. He said all he seen was a bunch of farmers waving forks at him. He said, I don't know how the hell we got hit by this rocket, but yo, I know what I seen. On our way down, we just seen a bunch of farmers with pitchforks, like waving it at us and yelling at us. And so, there's numerous stories where you hear these stories like that, because sometimes some of the miracles that you see them when you're on the battlefield, right? A lot of times you see it on the battlefield. You don't know, you don't understand the help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until you like in that kind of, that kind of predicament. Like when they said Ali ibn Abi Talib, they said there was a iron door, right? Ali ibn Abi Talib, they said he picked it up and threw it at the opposing army, right? Ali had that kind of reputation that they said that if you fought Ali, nobody's ever lived to tell the story. Nobody, right? So that's why when him and Muawiyah was beefing, Ali recommended, he said, look, man, let's cancel these armies and me and you rumble. Muawiyah was like, hell no. You crazy? We already know your reputation, right? So these are you'll see these kind of, you hear these kind of stories. There's plenty of stories. Even like you read what's the Hilwatul Awliya. The stories, like some of the stories of the Awliya, where they were taking an army into, I believe it would be either Egypt, considered Egypt, or considered Sudan, because the Nile River run through that. They were going to fight. The Kafir army was 3 times the size of the Muslim army. The leader who was leading the Muslim army, he asked his people, he said, yo, any of y'all commit any major sins today? They said, no, I made them whoop me knee. He said, all right, proceed on, because they got to the banks of the river. And they started walking. The Kufar's looking on the other side. They're like, man, these dudes ain't gonna get it across here. We got a little time. No, they started walking over the water as an army, right? And they just looking at it. They said, yo, they said 1/3 of the army ran because they like, yo, these dudes gotta be practicing magic. We out of here, right? The other third of the army took Shahada, and the last third of the army stayed, fought, and died. You see? So when your back is against the wall, that help comes from Allah Ta'ala. Go back to the Hadith in Juma, right? If you if you keep your duty to Allah, then Allah will protect you, right? But the moment you turn away from keeping your duty, then Allah removes the protection from you. It's just that simple. And there's tons of stories that could be told with regards to situations like this. So Abraha thought he was coming to destroy the Kaaba, and he got a rude awakening. So when Allah Ta'ala sent the Abyssinians back, and the respect for the Quraysh didn't increase. The people had more respect for them. Because think about it. Imagine unarmed people, is defending off a big army. All the people's going to hear about that, and they're going to grow this admiration for you, right? He said, they said the word came out that these are the people of Allah, and Allah fought on their side and helped them defeat the army. So guess how many people, probably the numbers of people coming to visit the Kaaba probably increased at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they just ran off the Abyssinian army. So the Arabs, they attached great importance to this event, rightly so, and they dated their calendar from it. And this when it became named as the year of the elephant. And so was born in the year of the elephant, and this occurred in the year of the elephant, and or after so many years after the year of the elephant. So if something happened 3 years after the elephant, and you had a child, and your child was born 3 years after the elephant, they'd be like, oh, his birth date became three. It could have been Muharram, the year after 3 years after the elephant. Then your next child is born 6 years after the elephant. It'd be Rabi'a Owl, 6 years after the elephant, and so on and so forth. That's how they mark their calendar. And the year of the elephant, according to the Christian calendar, was 570, right? And then what came place after that is Abdullah and Amina, right? And we talked about them early on in the earlier classes. Abdullah was the father of the Prophet Sallallahu, and Amina was who? The mother. Now, so Abdul Muttalib was the leader of the Quraysh, and he had 10 sons. Abdullah was the youngest. He was the 10th son, and he was the noblest. And his father married him to Amina, bint Wahab, right? And her father was the leader of Banu Zuhra at that time. Her lineage and position made her the best woman in the Quraysh. However, before Abdullah died, leaving his wife pregnant, who was to become the mother of Rasulullah Sallallahu, Amina saw many signs and indications that her son would become an important figure in the future. And I'm not sure we're gonna stop here today. I'm not sure if this is gonna tell a story, but just to add this piece in, other scholars like Ibn Ishaq, he mentioned that uh Abdullah, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's father, he used to have this light in his forehead. Literally, he used to have his light. And women used to try to get at him because they was mysterious. They was like, this dude got a light in his forehead, right? And they said, it was like a glow. When he got married to Amina, right? And she became pregnant, that light was gone. So the same woman that tried to holler at him, he tried to holler at her like, "Hey, you remember me?" She like, "No, you don't have that light no more. You ain't no good, right?" So but they say that light that Noah was from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, at his before he even been born. So we'll stop there, inshallah. Next week, next class, it'll get into the lineage, uh, the birth of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his lineage, him as a child, and then we'll talk about the death of his father and mother. And then the week after that, we'll talk about his uncle who raised him up from there. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Quick question. Uh-huh. Well, not quick, but no. So I read about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some way Abdul Muttalib had help from what's his name? The king of the African country. Abyssinia? Abraham was the king at the time. No. The guy, the subhanAllah, I forgot his name. Where they made the first Hijra. Oh, Abyssinia, yeah, that's where they went to Abyssinia. What was the king? What was he was called Neg. His name was Neg. It was Negus. That was the title. Well, we know him as Najashi. I forgot his actual name though. Najashi, right. So that was the title. That's why I said that. Najashi helped Abdul Muttalib somewhere in that story. I gotta read it again. I'm not about it. I don't know. Reason why I'm saying that, I know he helped the Prophet say something about opening up the land in the Hijra. He helped the Quraysh out in some kind of way. He may have, but it may not have been that particular that particular right, because remember, like I was saying, the word Negus was like a title, and it meant like king, or even Najashi as we know it. You know what I'm saying? So they may have used that title, but I forgot his name. I'm gonna have his name for you next week. But like you be like Amir. We use the title Amir. You might be like, oh, the Amir helped me. This is 20 years ago. Here I come along. They'd be like, oh, the Amir. They'd be like, you might assume it's me, but it wasn't. It was somebody 20 years ago. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just the name that you need to make that differentiation. So basically, I know it was Abdul Muttalib. Okay. He got help from somebody. He got help from somebody. Right. From Abyssinia. Okay. Then years later, he telling the Prophet something. Hey, go to this. He hears from his uncle that Najashi is a just king. You get I know that how he was a just king. That was when I know that it took place during time. Prophet said something. That's why they started sending people to Abyssinia, and they described that Najashi at that time as a just king. Remember, and then I think it was Amr ibn al-As, and I forgot the other Sahaba that was sent there. I think it was Jafar. Right? They went there, and opened up the lands. They had that discussion with the negus of Abyssinia. I forgot.